Despite its name, Fang was an ordinary small town in a northern province of Chiang Mai, situated on the banks of a river. It made a convenient stopover for river traders and passengers throughout most of the year. A few barges, rafts, and sometimes even a large sailboat could usually be found moored at Fang. But all that was long ago, before the creation of the Trial of Champions. Now, once a year, the river is crammed with boats as people arrive from hundreds of miles around, hoping to witness the breaking of an ancient tradition and see a victor in the Trial of Champions. On the 1st of May each year, warriors and heroes come to Fang to face the test of their lives. Survival is unlikely, yet many take the risk, for the prize is great. A purse of 10,000 gold pieces and the freedom of Chiang Mai forever. But to become champion is no easy task. Some years ago, a powerful baron of Fang called Sukhumvit decided to bring attention to his town by creating the ultimate contest. With the help of the townspeople, he constructed a labyrinth deep in the hillside behind Fang, from which there was only one exit. The labyrinth was filled with all kinds of deadly tricks and traps and loathsome monsters. Sukhumvit had designed it in meticulous detail, so that anybody hoping to face its challenge would have to use their wits as well as weapon skill. When he was finally satisfied that all was complete, he put his labyrinth to the test. He picked 10 of his finest guards, and fully armed, they marched into the labyrinth. They were never seen again. The tale of the ill-fated guards soon spread throughout the land, and it was then that Sukhumvit announced the first Trial of Champions. Messengers and news sheets carried his challenge, 10,000 gold pieces and freedom of Chiang Mai forever to any person surviving the perils of the labyrinth of Fang. The first year, 17 brave warriors attempted the walk, as it later became known. Not one reappeared. As the years passed and the Trial of Champions continued, it attracted more and more challengers and spectators. Fang prospered and would prepare itself months in advance for the spectacle it hosted each May. The town would be decorated, tents erected, dining halls built, musicians, dancers, fire-eaters, illusionists, and every sort of entertainer hired, and entries registered from hopeful individuals intent on making the walk. The last week of April found the people of Fang and its visitors in wild celebration. Everybody sang, danced, and laughed until the day broke on the 1st of May, when the town thronged to the gates of the labyrinth to watch the first challenger of the year step forward to face the Trial of Champions. Having seen one of Sukhumvit's challenges nailed to a tree, you decide that this year you will attempt the walk. For the last 5 years, you have been attracted to it not for the rewards, but for the simple fact that nobody has ever yet emerged victorious from the labyrinth. You intend to make this the year in which a champion is crowned. Gathering up a few belongings, you set off immediately. 2 days' walk takes you west to the coast, where you enter the cursed port Black Sand. Wasting no time in that city of thieves, you buy your passage on a small boat sailing north to where the river Coke meets the sea, and from there you raft upriver for 4 days, until finally you arrive in Fang. The trial begins in 3 days' time, and the town is in an almost hysterical mood of excitement. You register your entry with the officials and are given a violet scarf to tie around your arm, informing everyone of your status. For 3 days, you enjoy Fang's greatest hospitality and are treated like a demigod. During the long merriment, you almost forget your purpose in Fang, but the evening before the trial, the magnitude of the task ahead begins to dominate your thoughts. Later, you are taken to a special guest house and are shown your room. There is a splendid 4-poster bed with satin sheets to help you rest, but there is little time left for sleep. Just before dawn, a trumpet call awakens you from vivid dreams of flaming pits and giant black spiders. Minutes later, there is a knock on your door, and a man's voice rings out saying, "Your challenge begins soon. Please be ready to leave in 10 minutes. You climb out of bed, walk over to the window and open the shutters. Already people are thronging the streets, moving quietly through the morning mist. Spectators, no doubt on their way to the labyrinth, hoping to find good vantage points from which to watch the competitors. Walking over to a wooden table on which your trusty sword and shield lie, you pick them up and cut the air with a mighty sweep, wondering which beasts your sword's sharp edge may soon have to meet. You open the door into the corridor, and a small man greets you with a low bow as you emerge from your bedroom. "Please follow me," he says. He turns to his left and walks quickly towards the stairs at the end of the corridor. Walking through a parting in the crowds, you see Baron Succumbit himself. You count 5 others standing proudly in line, their violet scarves displayed for all to see. There are 2 bare-chested barbarians dressed in furs. They stand completely motionless, legs straight and slightly apart, arms thrust forward to rest on the hilts of their long, double-headed battle axes. A sleek elven woman with golden hair and feline green eyes is adjusting the crossbelt of daggers wrapped around her leather tunic. Of the 2 remaining men, one is covered head to foot in iron-plate armor with a plumed helmet and a crested shield. The other is cloaked in black robes, with only his dark eyes showing between the swords of his black face scarves. Long knives, a wire garrote, and other silent death weapons hang from his belt. The 5 contenders acknowledge your arrival with almost imperceptible nods of the head, and you turn to face the exultant crowd for the last time. Suddenly, a hush falls over the crowd as Baron Succumbit steps forward, holding 6 bamboo sticks. You draw one from his outstretched hand, and you read the word, "Fit." Then the trial begins. The knight is first. He salutes the crowd before disappearing into the tunnel, and is followed half an hour later by the elf. Next goes a barbarian, and then the dark assassin. Next, it's your turn. But before embarking on your adventure, we must first determine your own strengths and weaknesses. You have in your possession a sword, a shield, and a backpack for carrying provisions for the trip. You have been preparing for your quest by training yourself in swordplay and exercising vigorously. To see how effective your preparations have been, dice will be rolled to determine your skill, stamina, and luck scores. Or, if you wish to begin your adventure immediately, you can choose between 3 ready-made adventurers.
school.
First, we'll roll for your initial level of skill. This reflects your sword skill and fighting expertise, and will be determined by rolling 1 die and adding 6.
Oh, come on. There we go.
Next, we'll roll for your initial stamina.
Why not?
Which represents your strength. So the higher your stamina score, the longer you will survive. This will be determined by rolling 2 dice and adding 12.
I'll take it.
Next, we'll roll for your initial luck, which represents how lucky an adventurer you are. Luck and magic are facts of life in the fantasy world you're about to explore. This is determined by rolling 1 die and adding 6.
I'll take it.
You may also take a magical potion with you to aid you on your quest. Each bottle of potion contains 2 measures, so can be used twice during an adventure. You can choose from a potion of skill that restores your skill points to their initial amount, a potion of strength that restores your stamina points to their initial amount, or a potion of fortune that not only restores your luck points to their initial amount, but will also increase your initial luck score by 1 each time it's used. Lastly, before you begin your quest, you are given enough provisions for 10 meals. When you eat a meal, your stamina score will increase by 4 points. But don't forget, your stamina can never exceed the initial amounts you've just set. You have a long way to go, so use your provisions wisely. During your adventure, you'll enter into combat a number of times, and the further you go, the tougher your opponents will be.
I need to move my camera.
Combat takes place over several rounds, and your attack strength is based on yours and your enemy's skill scores. For each round of battle, we'll roll 2 dice for you and 2 for your opponent, adding the results to your skill scores. These are your respective attack strengths. Whoever's attack strength is the highest wins that round of combat. If you both have the same attack strength in a round, then it will be a tie. In some battles, you can take an opportunity to escape. But beware. If you do run away, your opponent will automatically score 1 hit on you as you flee, costing you 2 stamina points. So be sure you have enough. Such is the price of cowardice. You are playing using the new battle system, where the battle takes place over 3 rounds. Your sheer battle-hardened nature will mean you'll always win the battle after the 3 rounds, but every round you lose will cost you 2 stamina points. So be careful. Losing all your stamina will still be fatal. At the start of each round, you'll have a short time to decide to fight or to build up your stamina by eating your provisions or taking a potion, if you have one. Now it is your turn to salute the crowd. Holding your violet scarf aloft, you take one final deep breath of cool, fresh air before turning to pass between the stone-pillared gateway into Sukhumvit's corridors of power to face unknown perils on the walk through the mighty Baron's Deathtrap dungeon. The clamour of the excited spectators gradually fades behind you as you venture deep into the gloom of the cavern. Large crystals hang from the tunnel roof at 20-metre intervals, radiating just enough soft light for you to see your way. As your eyes gradually become accustomed to the near darkness, you begin to see movement all around. Spiders and beetles crawling up and down the chiseled walls disappear quickly into cracks and crevices as they sense your approach. Rats and mice scurry along the floor ahead of you. Droplets of water drip into small pools with an eerie plopping sound which echoes down the tunnel. The air is cold, moist, and dank. After walking slowly along the tunnel for about 5 minutes, you arrive at a stone table standing against the wall to your left. On it, there are 6 boxes, one of which has your name painted on its lid. The lid of the box lifts off easily, and inside you find 2 gold pieces and a note written on a small piece of parchment addressed to you. After placing the gold in your pocket, you read the message, which says, "Well done. At least you had the sense to stop and take advantage of the token aid given to you. Now I can advise you that you will need to find and use several items if you hope to pass triumphantly through my Deathtrap dungeon. Signed, Sukhumvit." Memorizing the advice on the note, you tear it into tiny pieces and continue north along the tunnel, where you come to a junction. A white arrow painted on one wall points west. On the floor, you can see wet footprints made by those who entered before you. It's hard to be sure, but it looks as though 3 of them followed the direction of the arrow, while one decided to go east. Ahead, you can see a large obstruction on the tunnel floor. Although it is too dark to make out exactly what it is, the wet eastbound footprints you have been following carry on towards the obstruction. You see that the obstruction is a large brown boulder-like object. You touch it with your hand and are surprised to find that it is soft and spongy. You clamber onto the soft boulder, half expecting to be engulfed by it at any moment. Getting over it is difficult, as your limbs sink into its soft casing, but eventually you manage to struggle over it, relieved to be back on firm ground. You press on east, where the tunnel makes a turn to the left and heads north for as far as you can see. The footprints you are following start to peter out as the tunnel becomes gradually drier. Soon, you are beyond the dripping roof and the pools on the floor. You notice the air becoming hotter and you find yourself panting even though you are walking quite slowly. In a small recess on the left-hand wall, you see a section of bamboo standing on its end. Lifting it down, you see it is filled with a clear liquid. Your throat is painfully dry, and you feel a little dizzy from the heat in the tunnel. The water in the bamboo pipe is welcomely refreshing and adds 1 stamina point. It also contains a magical solution which will enable you to be exposed to melting point temperatures without harm. Discarding the bamboo, you start off north again, in good spirits. You find yourself dripping with sweat as the temperature continues to rise. As you struggle on, the heat intensifies until it becomes so unbearable that you feel yourself begin to pass out. Although the temperature in the tunnel is higher than you could normally tolerate, the liquid from the bamboo pipe keeps you alive, and mercifully, after a few moments, the temperature drops rapidly and soon feels almost cool again. On the left-hand side of the tunnel is a closed door. It has a small iron plate in it, which looks like it might slide open. The small plate slides open easily, and you find yourself peering into a room with a deep pit in the floor behind the door. On the opposite wall, there is a coil of rope hanging on one of 2 iron hooks. The door swings open into the room, and you step back and jump over the pit. You put the rope in your backpack and jump back over the pit to leave the room.
Get the rope.
Head north. Ahead, you see that the tunnel turns sharply to the left. You turn a corner and almost bump straight into 2 fierce-looking orcs, armed with morning stars and wearing leather armor. You are totally unprepared for them and struggle to ready your weapons. The orcs roar. And as you draw your sword, one of them swings its morning star at you, which, thankfully, crashes into your shield, bouncing off harmlessly. The tunnel is too narrow for both of them to attack you at once, so you fight them, one at a time. The orc is strong but slow, and you're able to strike hard with your sword. Your shield protects you from the orc's frenzied attack, while you're able to hack at its leg. You raise your sword to parry the attack, and are able to kick the orc hard in the stomach. The first orc slumps lifeless to the floor, so you turn your attention to the other. The orc is strong but slow, and you're able to strike hard with your sword. Your shield protects you from the orc's frenzied attack, while you're able to hack at its leg. You raise your sword to parry the attack, and are able to kick the orc hard in the stomach. Inside one of the orc's pockets, you find 1 gold piece and a hollow wooden tube. You put your findings in your backpack and set off west. As you walk along, droplets of water again start falling from the tunnel ceiling. Heading west, you see wet footprints made by the same boots that you followed earlier. They lead to a closed iron door in the right-hand wall of the tunnel, but do not seem to go any further. The door opens into a large chamber, where you are shocked to see one of your rivals who has obviously met a sudden gory death. It is one of the barbarians, and he is impaled on several long iron spikes that are fixed to a frame which has sprung out of the floor. A lot of debris litters the floor, concealing a hidden tripwire which he must have stepped on, releasing the spiked frame. In the far wall is an alcove, in which you can see a silver goblet standing on a small wooden table.
That's Trap.
The pouch on the barbarian's belt is empty, apart from some strange-looking dried meat wrapped in a cloth.
Beef jerky.
The meat contains herbs which increase your strength, adding 3 to your stamina score. The passage soon leads to a junction, where you notice more footprints on the floor, possibly as many as 3 pairs, heading north from the south passage. You decide to follow them to where the passage opens out into a wide cavern, which is darker but much drier. Ahead, you see the footprints gradually fade, then disappear. There is a large idol in the center of the cavern that must be 6 meters high. In its head are jeweled eyes, each as big as your fist. On either side of the idol stand 2 giant stuffed, bird-like creatures.
I have a rope, I can do it.
The idol is very smooth and will be difficult to climb, but the rope you found earlier will help here, and you make it into a lasso. You whirl the rope above your head and throw it up at the idol, smiling happily as it lands around its neck. You then tighten the noose and start to climb, hauling yourself up the rope. You are soon at the top of the idol, sitting on the bridge of its nose and holding on to the rope. You draw your sword and wonder which jeweled eye to prize out first.
Ooh. That one.
As you touch the idol's emerald eye, you hear a creaking sound below you. Looking down, you are shocked to see the 2 stuffed birds flying off.
Uh-oh.
Their wings flap in jerky movements, but they are soon above you and look set to attack. You'll fight the flying guardians one at a time, but reduce your skill by 2 during this combat because of your restricted position. Clawing at your leg with its talons, the guardian rips away a chunk of your stamina. The guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak, but you're able to smash the hilt of your sword into its outstretched neck. Coming at you with its razor-sharp talons, you're able to swipe your sword, partially removing one of the Guardian's toes.
The crumpled form of the first flying Guardian falls crashing to the floor. So you ready yourself to take on the second.
You're able to grab the wing of the Guardian and send it crashing into the idol. It recovers, but you took some of its stamina. The Guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak, but you're able to smash the hilt of your sword into its outstretched neck. Coming at you with its razor-sharp talons, you're able to swipe your sword, partially removing one of the Guardian's toes.
Your final swipe dispatches the second flying Guardian. You look down and see the crumpled bodies of the two flying Guardians lying motionless on the floor. You start to prize out the idol's emerald eye with the tip of your sword. At last it comes free, and you are surprised by its weight when it falls into your hand. Hoping it may be of use later, you put it in your backpack.
Trophy. Why do I feel like if I get this eye again, those things will come alive again?
Back on solid ground once again on the cavern floor, you try to shake the rope off the idol's neck. This will be a test of your luck. Remember, 2 dice are rolled. Equal to or less than your current luck score, you'll have been lucky. Higher than your current luck score, you have been unlucky. The lasso loosens itself, and you are able to shake it free of the idol's neck. It falls to the floor with a loud clatter. You quickly coil the rope up again and put it in your backpack. Wasting no more time in the cavern, you run forward to the tunnel in the northern wall. Not much farther down the tunnel, you come to a closed door on your left. Putting your ear to the door, you listen intently but hear nothing. The tunnel twists and turns, but keeps steadily north. Ahead, you see a thin shaft of blue light streaming down from the ceiling to the floor. It sparkles and shimmers, and you can see images of laughing faces in the light. As soon as your head goes under the blue light, you hear the sound of muffled voices. The faces are no longer laughing, but have changed their expressions to one of despair and anguish. A young girl's sad face hovers in front of you, and she begins to whisper a poem. Transfixed, you listen intently, believing that she has a special message for you as she recites, "When corridor doth water meet, do not make a quick retreat. Take a breath and jump deep in, if your trial you hope to win." Memorizing the spirit girl's poem, you step through the shaft of light and quickly head on north. You come to an arched doorway set in the right-hand wall of the tunnel. The heavy stone door is closed, but there is an iron latch and a round handle.
Trap.
The tunnel ends shortly at a junction. Looking left and right, you see a narrow passage disappearing into the dim distance. You walk down the passage and soon find yourself standing at the edge of a deep, dark pit. The passage continues east on the other side of the pit. You think you could probably jump over the pit, but you are not sure. There is a rope hanging down from the ceiling over the center of the pit. Taking a step forward, you leap towards the edge of the pit. How lucky are you feeling? Rolling equal to or less than your luck score means you've been lucky, but a higher roll could cost you. Your armor and sword weigh you down, but you just manage to land safely on the far edge of the pit. You waste no time and head east. The tunnel makes a sudden left turn and continues north as far as you can see. You soon arrive at a closed wooden door in the left-hand wall.
Screw it.
The door opens into a large candlelit room filled with incredibly lifelike statues of knights and warriors. A white-haired old man dressed in tattered rags jumps out from behind one of the statues and starts to giggle. Though he looks like a fool, the sparkle in his eyes makes you think there is more to him. In a high-pitched voice, he says, "Oh, good! Another stone for my garden. I'm glad you have come to join your friends. Now, I'm a fair man, so I'll ask you a question. If you answer correctly, I'll let you go free. But if your answer is wrong, I'll turn you to stone." He starts to chuckle again, obviously pleased with your arrival. The old man points at one of the statues, and you recognize it immediately. It is the knight who started the trial of champions. The agonized look on his face locked in stone for eternity. The old man smiles, saying, "This man weighs 100 pounds plus half his weight. How much does he weigh?" What will you answer?
No. Can't be that.
Still smiling, the old man looks at you and says, "Well done, stranger. You have answered correctly. I wish you good fortune during the rest of the trial of champions. And to this end, I shall increase your powers." He then mutters a few more unintelligible words, and you feel a powerful surge soar through your body, increasing your skill, stamina, and luck by 1. You bid the old man farewell and leave his room to continue north along the passage. Only a few meters further down the passage, you see another closed door in the left-hand wall. The letter X is scratched into its center panel. Putting your ear to the door, you listen intently, but can hear nothing. The door opens into a large room. Looking around, you see an alcove in the west wall. In the middle of the room, sitting in the chair, is the skeleton of an armed warrior, possibly a contestant from years gone by. The skeletal fingers of its right hand grip a crumpled parchment. Touching the parchment has precisely the effect you had feared. The skeleton lurches forward and, rising from its chair in a series of jerky movements, raises its sword to strike you.
Look.
Lunging sideways, you draw your sword to defend yourself. The skeleton is strong, but slow. You swing your sword, which smashes into its leg. You dodge to the side as the warrior swings its sword. You kick out, knocking its legs out from under it. You run around the jerking skeleton, smashing your sword into its arm. Once again, you reach for the parchment, only this time lying amidst a pile of broken bones. Unfolding it, you see a map of a room with a drawing of a hideous creature inside it. Beneath the monster is a rhyme which reads, "Should you meet the manticore, of its tail beware. Shield yourself against the spikes flying through the air." You fold up the piece of parchment and put it in your backpack, repeating the rhyme over and over to yourself. You walk across to the alcove. At the back of the alcove are some steps leading down into a cellar. Cobwebs brush your face as you descend. The cellar ceiling is quite low, and the floor is strewn with debris. In the middle of the wall opposite you is an archway, which leads into another crystal-lit tunnel. There are large mushrooms growing on the debris to your right.
I hate mushrooms.
The tunnel continues west for several hundred meters, finally ending at some steps leading up to a closed trap door. You climb the steps slowly, hearing muffled voices above you. In the dim light, you can see that the trap door is not locked.
Monsters. It's monsters. It's always monsters.
You throw the trap door open and run up the steps into a bright, lantern-lit room. Two goblins are sharpening their short swords on a stone set in the middle of the floor. You catch them momentarily off guard, but they quickly recover and both rush forward to attack you. A point of note here, adventurer. Because of the shape of the room, both goblins will have a separate attack on you each attack round. However, here your attack will only be effective on one of the goblins. Against the other, you must still use your attack strength in a normal way. But even if your attack would have been effective, you will not wound it. It will just count this as though you have defended yourself. However, if its attack strength is greater, it will have wounded you in the normal way. You hurl yourself at your enemy, fists flailing, and land a stunning blow. You both swing for each other, and in the confusion, both miss. You thrust your sword, and you clearly damage the creature. You lunge at the creature's stomach with your sword drawn, but the creature whips around, parrying your blow. Neither of you are harmed. Your enemy is strong, but slow, and screams in pain as your sword sinks into his leg. Triumphant in one of your toughest battles to date, you see that the only furniture in the goblin's room is a table, 2 chairs, and a cupboard on the wall. There are 2 closed doors, one in the west wall and the other in the north wall.
Cupboard's a trap.
The door opens into another tunnel, which rises gently into the distance. After walking uphill for a while, the tunnel levels out, and you soon arrive at a door in the right-hand wall, to which a withered hand is nailed. You enter a room in which a man in tattered clothing is standing chained to the wall by his left arm. And you see that his right hand is missing and realize that this must be the one nailed to the door. Pleading for mercy, he cowers back from you as far as his chains will allow. You step up to the frightened man and cleave the chain with your sword. He drops to his knees and bows, thanking you over and over again. He tells you that 4 years ago, he entered the trial of champions but failed. He fell down a pit and had to be rescued by a trial master, one of Baron Sukhumvit's dungeon administrators. He was offered a choice between death or servitude in Deathtrap dungeon as the trial master's minion. Choosing the latter, he worked like a slave until he could stand it no longer and tried to escape. Alas, he was unsuccessful and was captured by the trial master's wandering orc guards. To teach him a lesson, they cut off his hand and condemned him to a year's imprisonment in this cell. You ask him whether he has any information that might be of use to you. He scratches his head. Well, I haven't exactly done very well in here myself, but I do know that you need to collect gems and precious stones if you hope to get out. I don't know why, but there it is. Without another word, the ragged prisoner dashes out of the room, turning left into the tunnel. You decide to keep heading north and turn right. There is an open pipe in the right-hand wall, about 1 meter in diameter. It is too dark to see far down it. You shout into it and hear your voice echoing down the iron pipe until eventually the sound fades away.
Let's go.
The pipe is wet and slimy, but you crawl on into the dank darkness, slithering and sliding as you go. Suddenly your hand touches something hard and square, which feels as if it is made of wood. It rattles as you shake it, and you decide you must be holding a box.
That's enough.
Removing the box lid by the light of the tunnel, you find an iron key and a large gem. It is a sapphire. Placing the items carefully in your backpack, you gain 1 luck point and set off north once again. There is a new branch in the tunnel on your left, and ahead you see 2 bodies lying on the floor. You stop and peer down the new tunnel, but seeing no doors or creatures, you decide against walking down it. With your sword drawn, you walk over to the bodies of the 2 orc guards. At least one of your rivals in the trial of champions must still be ahead of you. A quick search of the bodies produces nothing, apart from a necklace of teeth around the neck of one of the orcs. The necklace is an amulet of strength, which adds 1 skill point and 1 stamina point. Pleased with your find, you continue your quest north. The tunnel soon ends at a junction. Standing there alone and wondering which way to go is one of your rivals. It is one of the barbarians. You call out to him, but at first he does not answer. He merely stares at you coldly, his hands firmly gripping his axe. You walk up to him and ask which way he is heading. He grunts his reply, saying that he is going west and you may go with him. if you wish. Although you are slightly uneasy in each other's company, knowing that there can only be one winner in the Trial of Champions, you are both content to share in the benefits of a temporary alliance. And you begin to tell each other of your exploits so far, of the monsters and traps encountered and the dangers overcome. Walking along, you soon come to the edge of a wide pit. It is too deep and dark to see to the bottom. The barbarian suggests he lowers you to the bottom with his rope, saying he has a torch which he can light for you to use. You tie the rope around your waist and take hold of the lighted torch given to you by Throm, as your barbarian ally calls himself. Taking hold of the slack rope, Throm lowers you slowly over the edge of the pit and down into the dark depths below. You can see by the light of the torch that the sides of the pit are extremely smooth. You drop about 20 meters before hitting the bottom of the pit. There, you see another tunnel heading north, and you call up to Throm and tell him of your discovery. He calls back, saying that he is going to tie the rope around a protruding rock on the edge of the pit and will come down and join you. You hear him climbing down, and soon you are together again. Throm retrieves his rope by shaking it off the rock, and you set off north along the new tunnel. On a stone ledge in the tunnel wall, you see two dusty leather-bound books. Throm grunts his contempt for the written word, urging you to leave the books and hurry on. The book pages are sealed together, but a small hole has been cut out in the middle of them, just large enough to hold a small corked bottle containing a clear liquid. You show it to Throm, who holds up his hand, indicating that he does not want you to come anywhere near him with it. His distrust of things unknown is strongly evident. The liquid is a magical potion that will enable you to detect hidden traps and adds 2 luck points. As you open the book, it immediately begins to disintegrate, the pages turning to dust in your hands. You manage to keep a few fragments and read the handwritten script. The book appears to be about monsters, and from what you can make out, it contains a full description of a monster called the Blood Beast. It is a horrific, bloated creature with tough, spiny skin and facial blisters which burst open to become mock eyes, evolved to hide the Blood Beast's only weak spot, the real eyes. Blood beasts usually dwell in pools of fetid slime which give off a poisonous gas so strong that it alone can easily knock people unconscious. The blood beast, although too bulbous to haul itself out of its slime pool, has a long and vicious tongue which it wraps around its victims before it drags them into its pool. As the helpless and still living victim's flesh decomposes in the vile slime, the blood beast will feed on it. You tell Throm about the grotesque blood beast. He merely shrugs his shoulders and tells you to get going. Setting off, you continue your journey north with Throm. The tunnel turns sharply to the right, continuing east for as far as you can see. Throm stops and tells you to halt as well. He turns his head slowly from side to side, listening. I hear footsteps coming down the tunnel towards us, he whispers. Draw your sword. You both crouch down to hide in the shadows, and not a minute too soon. For a moment later, you see the silhouette of two armed guards. Throm jumps up and dashes forward, screaming a loud battle cry. They are two cave trolls. Throm attacks the first one with his battle axe, and you run to his aid to attack the second.
Heck yeah.
You hurl yourself at your enemy, fists flailing, and land a stunning blow. You parry the attack, but your enemy is too strong, and you crack your head on the floor as you hit the ground. The troll swings low, crashing into your ankles, knocking you off balance. You look to the left and see Throm standing over the cave troll he has slain. Blood is pouring out from a deep cut in his shoulder, but it does not seem to worry him. You search the bodies of the cave trolls, but find nothing apart from a bone ring on a leather cord hanging round the neck of one of them. The ring is engraved with a symbol which Throm recognizes. He explains that it must belong to druids of the north, and that an ancient talisman such as this will increase your powers if your body is able to accept it. As soon as you put the ring on your finger, your whole body starts to shake. We'll see how skillful you really are. Remember, a roll equal to or less than your skill score means you've been skillful, but a roll higher than your skill could end badly. Your body continues to vibrate intensely, and you feel as if you're about to pass out. But your strength is great, and you manage to withstand the tremendous shock to your system. Finally, you calm down and begin to feel the ring's beneficial powers working on you and adding 3 stamina points. You see Throm looking at you anxiously, so you reassure him that you are fully recovered. He strides off east, and you follow him eagerly. The tunnel leads into a damp cavern with a high ceiling and rock-strewn floor. Long and wet, teeth-like stalactites hang down threateningly. Their constant dripping creates smoky pools on the floor. The tunnel carries on through an archway carved in the shape of a demonic mouse. The tunnel ends at a large oak door. Throm wastes no time in testing the handle and is somewhat surprised to find the door unlocked. He pushes it open and walks into a torch-lit chamber. Sitting alone on an ornate chair is a dwarf who bids you enter. As you do so, the oak door swings shut behind you. Adventurers, you have done well to get this far, says the dwarf in a deep voice. However, as you both know, there can only be one winner in the Trial of Champions. As Trial Master, it is my duty to Baron Circumvit, to let only the most able continue. Therefore, I must devise a test of wits and strength to eliminate one of you. Please do not attempt to dispose of me. It will be utterly pointless, for, as you can see, there is no obvious way out of this chamber, and only I know where the hidden exit lies. Know if you would care to decide between you who will go first I shall make the necessary preparations. You look at Throm, suddenly angry that your effective partnership might come to an end. He leans over and whispers in your ear that you should try to kill the dwarf and worry about the exit later. You tell Throm that there is no point in killing the dwarf, as you will never find your way out of the chamber alone. You argue that an opportunity of tricking the dwarf might arise later, once you have found the exit from the chamber. So you intend to go through with the dwarf's test. You tell the dwarf that you are ready, and he beckons you to follow him, telling Throm to wait for his return. A secret door opens in the chamber wall, and you follow the dwarf into a small circular room. He closes the door behind you and hands you 2 bone dice, telling you to throw them onto the floor. You roll a 6 and a 2, a total of 8. The dwarf asks you to roll them again, but this time you must predict whether the total will be the same, less, or more than the 8.
Statistically, it'll be less than 8.
The dwarf congratulates you for guessing correctly. He tells you that you must now progress to the second stage of the test. He reaches for a wicker basket and tells you that a snake is held within it. He tips the basket over, and the snake drops onto the floor. It is a cobra, and it rears up in the air, ready to strike. The dwarf tells you that he wishes to test your reactions. Barehanded, you must grasp the cobra below its head, avoiding its deadly fangs. You crouch down on the floor, tensing yourself for the moment to seize it. This will be a tough test of your skill. With lightning speed, you thrust your hand out and grip the cobra just below its open mouth. You lift it up, and with your arm outstretched, you dangle it in front of the dwarf. He doesn't flinch, but says in his calm, expressionless way,
"Please put the cobra back in the basket and prepare for the final part of the test. Follow me."
You do what he says and follow him back into the chamber, where Throm is pacing up and down, obviously ill at ease. You wave to him while the dwarf opens a second secret door and tells you to walk on through and wait for him. Again, you comply, and you find yourself in another circular room, although this one resembles a small arena. The floor is covered with sand, and a small balcony runs around the arena wall. Opposite the secret entrance you came in through is an ominous-looking wooden door. Suddenly you hear a shout, and you look up to see the smiling dwarf standing on the balcony. He throws 2 pieces of paper down to you. On one of them, the words, "No crop is," are written. On the other, "Ruin Moat." In his ever-calm voice, he says,
If you rearrange the letters of the words, you will find the names of 2 creatures. You may choose which one to fight in my arena of death.
Can you identify the creature by rearranging the letters?
This is Minotaur. I think the other one is Scorpion. I'd rather take a Minotaur.
You call out to the dwarf that you are ready to fight the Minotaur. The wooden door rises slowly, and you see the fearsome beast, half man, half bull, step into the arena. Steam blows from its nostrils as it works itself up into a rage, ready to attack. Suddenly it rushes forward, swinging its double-headed axe. The Minotaur swings its huge axe above its head. You step aside as it smashes into the floor. You're able to land an attack from the side. Your speed is improving. You run directly at the Minotaur and slice at its leg as you run by. The Minotaur leans forward and takes a run at you. Speed is impressive, but you duck and roll aside, landing a heavy blow on its shin. The dwarf calls down from the balcony, congratulating you on your victory. He throws the sack down into the arena and tells you to relax and regain your strength for the final part of the test. Then he walks off, saying he will return in about 10 minutes. You open the sack and find a jug of wine and a cooked chicken. The food and drink are excellent, and you feel much better, gaining 2 more stamina points. Fully satisfied, you sit down and await the dwarf's return. After about 20 minutes, the dwarf reappears on the balcony. He calls down to you, saying,
Well, I do have an interesting problem on my hands. Prepare to fight your next opponent.
The wooden door rises once again, and you are surprised to see a familiar face. It is Throm. He is cut and badly bruised and doesn't seem to recognize you. He is clearly delirious as he staggers forward with his axe raised to attack you. The dwarf laughs and says,
The cobra bit him, but he has the strength of an ox and managed to carry on, even though most men would have died. Now you must fight him to decide finally which of you will continue the trial of champions.
You shout abuse at the dwarf, protesting the cruelty of such a contest. He merely laughs, and you have no option but to defend yourself against poor Throm. Despite his wounds, he is immensely strong.
Yeah, boy. Oh, cool dude.
You hurl yourself at Throm, fists flailing, and land a stunning blow on his chin. You drop to the ground, sweeping away Throm's legs. You hate it as he howls as his head hits the hard ground. Throm is tall, and you duck, grab him, and ram his head hard into the wall. Exhausted by your long duel, you fall to your knees as you stare at Throm's still body. A bitter loathing for the dwarf fills your heart. Somehow, you will avenge Throm. Engulfed in your hatred, you do not notice the dwarf enter the arena until he is standing right in front of you, a loaded crossbow aimed at your chest.
I know what you are thinking,
He says calmly.
but remember that only I know the way out of here. Get up. It's time for you to leave.
Once on your feet, the dwarf indicates that you should walk ahead of him. Back in the chamber, he crosses over to the northern wall and pushes against one of its stones. A door-like section of the wall swings out, opening into another crystal-lit tunnel. With his crossbow still aimed at your chest, the dwarf smiles, saying,
Good luck.
We're out of
The
here.
tunnel soon divides into 2. You hear a buzzing sound coming from the western branch. There is a large panel of glass in the left-hand wall of the tunnel. Through it, you can see a bright, torch-lit room teeming with giant insects of every possible description. Bees, wasps, beetles, ticks. Even the mites are over 6 centimeters long. The noise is threatening. In the middle of the room, a jeweled crown lies on top of a small table. What looks like a large diamond is set in the middle of the crown. Ahead, in the far distance, you hear the sound of slow footsteps coming towards you. Unsure of who or what might be approaching, you look around for a place to hide. You see a large crack in the tunnel wall which lies in shadow. A crippled man with shackled feet shuffles into sight, carrying a wooden tray laden with bread and water. He looks tired and miserable, and quite unmoved by the sight of you, and tries to walk past. He looks at you warily when you tell him you are a contestant in the trial of champions. You ask him what he is doing in the tunnels, and he replies, rather reluctantly, that he is a servant of one of the trial masters, Baron Circumvit's appointed controllers of the sections of his dungeon. After chatting for a while, he admits that he would like to escape, but no one is allowed to leave the dungeon in case they reveal the secrets of its construction. He tells you that he hopes one day to bribe his way out, and that for 1 gold piece, he will tell you where some treasure is hidden. He takes your gold piece and tells you that in a northern tunnel, there is a wooden chair carved in the shape of a demon bird. In the arm of the chair is a secret panel which contains a potion in a glass phial. It's a doppelganger potion, if I remember right. Good luck. I hope we meet again outside these infernal tunnels. The man shuffles off, and you continue your journey. After a short while, you arrive at another junction in the tunnel, with a choice of 2 directions.
Alright, that's enough of this. I'm tired. Whoa. How do I save my game? I don't know how to save my
Set back in the arched alcove in the tunnel wall, you see an ornate wooden chair carved in the shape of a demon-like bird of prey.
Well, I guess we're in it to win it.
Remembering the old man's advice, you search the arm of the chair for a secret panel. You find an almost invisible crack in the arm, which you start to press and squeeze. Suddenly a tiny panel springs out of the arm, and you see a glass vial lying in a cavity. You pick it out and read the label. Doppelganger potion, 1 dose only. This liquid will make you assume the shape of any nearby living being. You place the strange potion in your backpack and continue north, where the tunnel starts to slope downwards and finally comes to an end at a deep pool enclosed by the tunnel wall. The words of the spirit girl's poem flash through your mind. When corridor doth water meet, do not make a quick retreat. Of course, it is here that she wants you to dive into the water. Now, you must decide what to do. Somewhat nervously, you take a deep breath and dive into the dark pool. The northern wall does not project very far beneath the surface of the water, and you decide to take the risk to swim under it. Soon, you start gasping for air and are forced to swim upwards. Trying not to think that you could be trapped in an old submerged tunnel, you are relieved when you surface into cool air. You are on the other side of the wall and can see the tunnel rising out of the water and continuing north into the distance. You wade out of the water and check if you've been lucky with the contents of your wet backpack. 2 portions of your provisions are saturated and are now inedible. Other than that, all your other possessions remain intact. You repack them carefully inside your backpack and set off north again. A little way along on the left of the tunnel wall, you reach the entrance of a large cabin from which you hear a girl's voice crying for help. You can just make out the shape of a human figure rolling about on the floor at the back of the cavern. As you approach the prostrate figure, you see she is an elf, one of your rivals in the Trial of Champions, and she is fighting for her life in the bone-crushing grip of an enormous boa constrictor. With one swipe of your trusty blade, you behead the boa constrictor. You uncoil its massive body from around the elf and try to resuscitate her. Her eyes open a little, but you can see that there is no hope. She looks at you and smiles, and then says in a whisper, "Thank you. I know it's too late for me, but I will tell you what I've learned. Your way out lies ahead, but you need gems to unlock the final door. One of them is a diamond, but I do not know what the others are. Alas, I have not found a diamond, but would urge you to look for one. Good luck." Her eyes close, and she slumps down onto the cold floor. You watch sadly as she breathes her last. Knowing she would not mind, you take 2 of her daggers and search her leather backpack. Inside, you find some unleavened bread, a mirror, and a bone charm in the shape of a monkey. The bread contains secret elven healing herbs, which increase your stamina by 3 points. Feeling sad, yet strong, you pack away the mirror and the charm and leave the cavern to head north. Walking along the tunnel, you notice an iron grill in the floor. Lying in a hole about a meter deep, you see a grappling iron and a leather pouch. You reach down into the hole and suddenly your blood runs cold as you feel something warm and sticky wrapping itself around your arm. You manage to pull your arm out of the hole, but a hideous tentacled limb with unbelievably strong suckers is clinging to you. By the time you manage to cut yourself free, your arm is trembling with pain, and you wonder whether luck is on your side. Having had the sense not to put your sword arm into the hole, the effects of the tentacled arm are not too serious, meaning you only lose one skill point. You reach back into the hole and pull out the grappling iron and the leather pouch. Inside the pouch, you find a tiny brass bell. You pack away your new possessions and continue north. A door comes into view in the left-hand wall of the tunnel. You listen carefully at it and hear nothing. The door is not locked, and the handle turns easily.
No. Trap.
The tunnel starts to widen, and ahead you see it's opened into a huge cavern from where you can hear the sound of many high-pitched voices. You creep up to the entrance and take a look inside. There are about 20 tiny people with long noses and ears running in a circle around a large golden effigy. You pour the contents of the glass vial into your mouth and swallow the clear liquid. Although you do not feel any immediate change, you hope that the potion will create the illusion that you are a troglodyte, just like the ones in front of you. Taking a deep breath, you step boldly into the cavern. The troglodytes continue their tribal dance, believing you to be one of them. You walk past them casually and head north. Unfortunately, the effects of the potion are short-lived. Suddenly, you hear a shriek behind you as one of the troglodytes spots you, and you are forced to run across the cavern floor. Ahead, you see an underground river running east to west through the cavern, and a wooden bridge crossing over it. After crossing the bridge, you run across the cavern floor. At last, you see a tunnel in the far wall, which you race down until you reach its end at a heavy wooden door. The door is locked.
I have a key.
The key turns in the lock, and the door opens into a four-way intersection of the tunnel. There is nothing to be seen, either to the east or to the west, apart from the now familiar ceiling crystals giving off their dim light. And suddenly you hear a voice calling you. This way, this way. You are on the right track. It seems to be coming from somewhere directly ahead of you. Your curiosity gets the better of you, and you decide to walk towards the beckoning voice. The tunnel bends sharply to the right, and around the corner you see a little old man with a long beard, cowering behind a large wicker basket. The basket is tied to a rope, the other end of which disappears into the ceiling. The old man sounds very worried as he says, "Do not attack me, stranger. I pose no threat to you. I am simply here to help you. If you will be so kind as to offer me some sort of remuneration, I will gladly haul you up in the basket to the upper level. And believe me, that is where you ought to be. After paying off the old man, you climb into the wicker basket and watch as he tilts his head back and shouts, "Pull it up, Ivy!" The rope goes taut, and the basket rises jerkily off the ground. As you are hauled higher and higher, the old man calls out to you, saying, "You'll like Ivy. She's a nice girl. We call her Poison Ivy." He starts to laugh uncontrollably, and you wonder, somewhat apprehensively, just who is hauling you up.
Yeah.
The basket goes through the ceiling, and you find yourself in a small chamber, face to face with an ugly old female troll. Her face is hairy and covered with warts. With a huge hand, she reaches forward and hauls you out of the basket, which she lets fall to the floor below. She grabs you round the throat and says in a husky voice, "I want paying too." You gaze around Ivy's room, seeing a painting of another troll hanging on the wall. You ask her if he is any relation. Suddenly her mood and expression change. She loosens her grip on you and smiles, saying, "Oh yes, that is my dear beloved brother Sourbelly. He has done very well for himself down south in Port Blacksand. He is now an Imperial Guard in Lord Azor's elite troop. I'm very proud of him." Ivy stares at the painting and continues to praise her brother. Smiling, you tell Ivy that you think she and Sourbelly look very alike. And then, while she stares admiringly at the painting, you pick up a broken stool, creep up behind her, and smash her over the back of the head with it as hard as you can. To your immense relief, she slumps, unconscious, to the floor. You search through the cupboards and boxes in Ivy's room, but you find nothing except an old bone, which you take with you. You leave the chamber by the east door. You find yourself standing at the end of a tunnel with a flight of stone steps leading downwards. From the floor below, you can hear the sound of barking dogs. You take the bone out of your backpack and throw it down the stairs. The barking grows louder, changing to snarls and growls when the bone lands on the floor. You walk slowly down the steps with your sword drawn and see two huge black guard dogs fighting over the bone. You run quickly past them and on down the tunnel. The tunnel veers sharply to the left and comes to an end at a high wall in which there is a door. You hear a ferocious roar from the other side of the wall, and you wonder what gargantuan beast could make such a noise. You tie the rope to the grappling iron and hurl it over the top of the wall. Its hooks dig into the stone, and you begin to haul yourself up. Peering over the top of the wall, you see an enormous dinosaur-like monster thrashing about in a sand-covered pit. Its tough hide is a mottled green color, and it stands some 10 meters tall on its muscular hind legs. Rows of razor-sharp teeth line its gigantic jaws, which open and close with bone-snapping power. There is a large double door in the wall on the far side of the pit, which appears to be the only way out of this section of the dungeon. The pit fiend's jaws snap at the monkey charm and pluck it out of the air. Suddenly its jaws spring open again, forced apart by the charm, which has expanded to fill its mouth. While the pit fiend thrashes around in the pit, trying to get rid of the charm, you lower yourself down into the pit to reach the double doors. In its mad rage, the pit fiend tries to crush you against the side of the wall with its massive body. Let's see if luck is on your side here. As the pit fiend slams its body against the wall, you let go of the rope and drop safely to the floor. You run towards the double doors and are relieved to feel them swing open as you push on them. You let them swing shut behind you and head north along the tunnel. Walking along, you see a red line painted across the tunnel floor and notice a sign on the wall which reads, "No weapons beyond this point." The tunnel leads into a marble-floored hall with pillars rising right up to the ceiling. As you cross the floor, your footsteps echo through the hall. The hairs on the back of your neck start to prickle, and you soon sense unseen eyes watching you. Unknown to you, one of your rivals is hiding behind a pillar. It is the ninja, a deadly assassin dressed in black robes. Without a sound, he steps out from behind the pillar and throws a star-edged disc at your back. Instinctively, an inner voice tells you to duck. But how's your luck? The razor-sharp disc whistles past your head and bites deep into one of the pillars. Turning to face your would-be assassin, you prepare yourself as he advances, his long sword drawn. The ninja leaps at you, his sword screeching toward your head, but you parry and are able to kick the fighter directly in the stomach. The ninja leaps at you, his sword screeching toward your head. You parry, but his sword bites deep into your arm. You find a rock lying in the corner and throw it hard toward a pillar where the ninja is hiding. As he looks around it, the rock hits him agonizingly in the face. You decide to search the ninja and find a cloth bag in the folds of his robes. Inside it is a flask of water, some rice wrapped in a palm leaf, a jar of ointment, and a beautiful diamond. The ninja's rations are basic but welcome, increasing your stamina by 1 point. You empty the contents of the jar into your hand and apply them to your wounds. Their healing powers take immediate effect, and you feel yourself growing stronger. increasing your stamina by 3 points. You leave the hall, taking just the diamond with you. The only possible way out of the hall, as far as you can see, is by using the chute in the northern wall. You decide to give it a go and climb into the chute. You slide down gently, landing on your back in another room. As soon as you stand up, you are confronted by the most repulsive sight you have ever laid eyes on. There in front of you, wallowing in a circular pool of fetid slime, is a bulbous creature too horrible to be believed. Its body is green and covered all over with fearsome-looking spikes. Its face is a mass of crimson blisters, one of which suddenly bursts to reveal yet another of its many sinister, all-seeing eyes. A narrow path runs around the edge of the pool and leads into another tunnel in the far wall. Remembering the description of the vile blood beast and the warning about the toxic gas rising from its pool, you cover your mouth with your sleeve and step forward with your sword drawn, wary of the blood beast's tongue. As you step around the side of the pool, it rolls forward and flicks out its tongue. But you are ready for it and cleave it with one swipe of your sword. The beast howls in pain and stretches forward frantically, trying to clasp you between its blood-filled jaws. You start hacking at its hideous face in an attempt to pierce its real eyes. Again, the bulbous creature strikes for you with its hideous fangs. You jump clear of them, striking out and smashing one clean out of its hideous mouth. The blood beast's tail whips around you. You duck, but not quickly enough, and it punctures your arm deeply. Breathing heavily during your fights, you begin to succumb to the toxic gas and fall, cracking your head on the floor. Your blade strikes one of the blood beast's real eyes with devastating effect. It slumps back into its pool, thrashing about in a frenzy. You seize the opportunity and run around the side of the pool to the tunnel exit. The tunnel leads into a large room, its ceiling supported by several marble pillars. As you enter the room, you see a strange beast to your right. It has the body of a lion with dragon-like wings attached to it, but its head is like that of an old bearded man. You recognize the beast. It is a manticore. Taking heed of the warning poem you took from the skeleton warrior, you watch out for its tail, which sprouts a profusion of sharp spikes at its tip, thick and hard as iron bolts. You raise your shield in front of you just in time to protect yourself from a volley of spikes released from the manticore's tail and aim straight at your heart. They sink into your shield, and you remain unharmed. Swiftly, you draw your sword and advance on the manticore. The creature runs directly at you. You move too late, and the creature smashes you onto a wall, costing you valuable stamina. The giant creature whips its spiked tail at you, firing more spikes. You duck and roll, quickly slicing a chunk from its tail, passing close to you. You seize an opportunity to attack the creature's leg, but it's ready for you. And before you can strike, it rips your leg with its razor-sharp claws. As you are wiping the manticore's blood from your sword, You are surprised to see a small man jump out from behind one of the marble pillars. He is dressed in a tight-fitting green tunic and looks quite harmless, although you are wary of the way he is holding an opaque glass ball with a shimmering green light. "Greetings," he says cheerfully. "My name is Igbot, the gnome, and I am the trial master for your final test. Needless to say, my magical powers are great, so you should not try to attack me. You may have learnt during your quest that gems play an essential part in the trial of champions. The iron door in front of you is the victory exit, but there is only one way of opening it. 3 gems have to be put into the lock mechanism in the correct order. Each gem radiates a unique energy, which will trigger the mechanism. If you do it correctly, that is. But first, we need the correct gems. First, you will need an emerald." The gnome smiles and says, "You truly are a great adventurer. Now, you will also need a sapphire." The gnome, still smiling, says excitedly, "Excellent. Just one to go. Lastly, you'll need a diamond." The gnome jumps in the air, yelling, "Well done! Nobody has ever managed to find all 3 gems before. Now get ready for the final test, which I will explain once and once only. As you can see, the lock on this door has 3 slots labeled A, B, and C, each of which is built to accept a specific gem. You have to put one of the 3 gems in each of the slots in the correct order. If you manage this at the first attempt, fine. However, if you put the gems in the wrong slots, you will be blasted by a bolt of energy from the lock, causing you injury. So choose carefully. I'm allowed to help you a little. If you place 1 gem in its correct slot but get the other 2 wrong, I shall shout 1 crown and 2 skulls. If you place all 3 gems incorrectly, I shall shout 3 skulls. You will be allowed to try again and again until you either succeed or die. Are you ready? You signal your readiness with a nod of the head and walk forward to place the 3 gems in the slots. For your first try, decide now which gems you will place in the labeled slots. You just have time to hear the gnome yell, 3 crowns, before the lock clicks open. As the heavy door swings slowly outwards,
see me?
the gnome rushes towards it, hurling the glass ball at your feet. Green gas escapes from the broken glass. I'm afraid we'll need to test your luck to see if you avoid inhaling it. Covering your nose and mouth with your hand to avoid breathing in the gas, you follow the gnome through the open door. You enter another tunnel, at the end of which is the welcome sight of daylight. Much to your surprise, you see the gnome lying dead halfway down the tunnel. A crossbow bolt protrudes from the side of his head. The gnome, in his own bid for freedom, has fallen foul of Baron Succumvit's final trap. You walk past him and out into the brilliant sunshine. As soon as you appear at the tunnel exit, a large crowd begins to cheer and shout. You walk down a path lined with jubilant people towards a small rostrum, and there, sitting under a colourful bamboo umbrella, is Baron Suckendick. He looks astonished, as if he never expected anybody to come through his Deathtrap dungeon alive. Now the secret of Fang is known. As the Baron rises from his chair, you climb the steps to the rostrum, bow down before him, and watch as his cold eyes stare at you in utter disbelief. You smile grimly as he offers you his outstretched hand. To the deafening noise of the cheering people of Fang, Baron Suckendick opens the chest containing your prize of 10,000 gold pieces. Then he places the laurel crown on your head and proclaims you the champion of Deathtrap Dungeon.
Alright, I'll be back.